Good day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here. Today folks, we're going to be having a chat about one of the bigger developments to have come out of E3 this year, the Xbox One X. More specifically, we're going to be talking about what the Xbox One X is going to bring to the table and how it could possibly change the gaming industry. More specifically, the PC gaming section of the gaming industry to a certain extent. But anyway, before we get into all of that, let's take a look at the console from a technical standpoint to see what the specs of this thing actually are. With claims of the Xbox One X being quote-unquote the most powerful console to ever be developed, with the intention of running games in natural 4K resolutions at silky smooth frame rates, you would hope for an absolute beast of a machine. Well, spoiler alert, Xbox have stayed true to their word here. This thing is an absolute monster of a console. The CPU of the console is a custom-built 8-core AMD chip clocked at 2.3 GHz, which is pretty good for a console, but the real power here is coming from the GPU and onboard memory. The Xbox One X is rocking a 6 teraflop GPU with 12 GB of GDDR5 memory. That for a console is beyond ridiculous. Now on top of that, the console is also powered by 326 GB per second of memory bandwidth to ensure that frame rates are consistent no matter the game or the resolution. Now with specs like these, the goal of getting consistently smooth 4K gameplay is looking very much like a reality. However, Xbox decided to really go above and beyond here. Something that I found really surprising is that despite the amount of pressure the hardware is going to be under when reaching these 4K 60 FPS visuals, is that Microsoft have still managed to keep this as the smallest console of the Xbox One family of consoles to date. Now, I don't know about all of you guys, but that on first thought sounds like a massive overheating issue. Well, due to the onboard water cooling system, Xbox One X promises to keep itself cool and not burst into flames like the Samsung phones. So that's reassuring to say the least. But surely a console with this much power and this much water cooling technology is going to be stupidly expensive, right? Well, not exactly. The Xbox One X costs $499 US, which is going to be around 650 Australian dollars for all of my fellow Aussies that are watching and are interested. Now, while those numbers do sound impressive on their own, let's put them up against a piece of the gaming market that has been doing 4K gaming for a while. The PC side of things. Now, while it is hard to draw up straight up comparison against PC gear, considering that the console has a lot of custom built parts inside of it, and that the console's resource allocation would be very different to a PC's, if we're going to look at teraflops alone, the console is pretty much landing punches against the Nvidia GTX 1070, which sits at 6.5 teraflops, which is still 0.5 of a teraflop up on the Xbox, but is still a pretty fair comparison to make all things considered. Why make a comparison like this? Well, let's focus on the financial side of things, if you will, and you'll see what I'm getting at here. The GTX 1070 tends to sit at the price point of around about $399 to $499 Australian dollars on average, give or take a few odd exceptions. That alone is already over half the price of what you're paying for an Xbox One X. If you wanted to achieve a solid 60 FPS 4K resolution gameplay experience on PC, you would be very hard pressed. Actually, no, it would be impossible to find a bundle of PC parts that would get you there for 650 Australian dollars. So to me guys, this really begs the question, is the release of the Xbox One X going to have an influence on the price of PC gear so that PC gear manufacturers can combat the really competitive price of the console? We have to remember that when the Xbox One S, that's S for Slim, came out, it was pretty much the cheapest 4K media player on the market, full stop. And now, to this day, it still remains to be a really competitive price despite it being a console and a 4K media player at the same time. However, as a direct result of the release of the Xbox One S and at the price in which it was released at, quite a few 4K media players have in fact come down in price to combat that very competitive price tag. Now, I know that instantly the devoted supporters of the PC Master Race will come forward racing with arguments like, yes Cammy, this console might be powerful, but a PC is still a PC. It can be used for a wide variety of things beyond gaming, which, I'll hand it to you, is a fair argument to make. But let's in all honesty talk about the reasons as to why you would invest $1,000 plus to build a PC. For gaming really, and yes, I am talking about building a PC from the ground up. In fact, the only reason you would ever build a PC is really for gaming. There aren't a lot of people out there building high-end PCs to use Microsoft Word and Excel on. at least from my personal experience. And yes, before the Xbox One X came along, the PC was the only machine capable of doing natural 4K gaming at a buttery smooth 60 FPS if you put the right amount of dollary dues into it. But now, that's not really the case anymore. The PC market now has some competition when it comes to the 4K standard of graphical fidelity. Sure, PC games will always probably have the edge on consoles as development continues on new technologies and such, but right now the edge has been blunted significantly with the release, or the announcement if you will, of the Xbox One X. Sure, while the PlayStation 4 Pro made considerable steps towards providing console players with a 4K experience, nothing has quite reached the extent of the experience that we're going to see from the Xbox One X. And with that, the 4K gaming market is no longer a monopoly-based market, which is a good thing to a certain extent. Why is it a good thing? Well, because the PC part manufacturers have always been able to create new gear and price it as they wish without any competition from other sectors of the gaming market. If you wanted a true 4K gaming experience before the Xbox One X, then you would have to fork out enough cash determined by PC companies on their own terms. But now, the Xbox One X produces a 4K gaming experience at a fraction of the price as to what a 4K gaming PC would normally cost you, hence providing a new layer of competition that will, in my opinion, challenge PC companies to make their prices in turn more competitive. Right now, the peak of visual fidelity in gaming is 4K, meaning that PCs are now on an even playing ground with consoles. That might change when we see things like 8K become more regular, if it ever does, but right now 4K is king, which means that having the latest and greatest graphics card won't produce anything drastically more impressive than the console counterpart, which is, once again, something that I feel as though is going to really make the high-end gaming market a more competitive marketplace. Sure, PCs in general are always going to be more expensive, and there is no way that I'm expecting 4K gaming setups to suddenly become 650 Australian dollars. A PC is always going to be something more than a gaming machine. It can be upgraded, and it is just something that's more versatile overall, thus costing more. But with the release of the Xbox One X, the monopoly controlled by the PC part manufacturers for 4K gaming has come to an end, which naturally encourages a more competitive marketplace. While that effect might not be instant, I feel as though we will see a change in the future. And folks, on that note, that's going to wrap up today's thoughts video discussing the future of the PC gaming marketplace and how the Xbox One X, or the announcement of the Xbox One X, could potentially change how PC parts are priced in the future. This is all a very theoretical, thought-inducing conversation, guys, so I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. I just started thinking about this ever since the announcement of the Xbox One X, and just sort of started theorizing things. If you think I was talking absolute nonsense, then feel free to leave a dislike there on the video. If you enjoyed today's video at all, feel free to backhand that like button. It would be greatly appreciated. And once again, guys, if you've got any feedback for today's video, then feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. And if you find yourself backhanding that like button and you're new to the channel, backhand that subscribe button whilst you're at it to keep up to date with the content in which I'm releasing here on my channel. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Have a good one.